Yo, what's up, guys? This is Magamu, and I know it's been pretty much a minute since I made a video, but I thought this would be the perfect video to come back to because I wasn't really into watching any of the dev streams. And I said I wasn't going to talk about much Warframe on this channel, but this is Soulframe, and I feel like this is a super good topic to talk about because I was watching what they showed in the dev stream, and I think it's pretty interesting because they showed a super early version of the game and pretty much how Soulframe's gonna look, and they were right. Like it's super early, and it's just it's not something you would show to a publisher. We'll get to that point later, but they definitely want to show what they had so far to the player base, and like I said, that's a point I do want to talk about. But the interesting thing about this demo is that I saw there was some positive reaction to this, and there was also some negative reaction to what they showed, and I wanted to talk about it. Now, the positive reaction, of course, people are gonna like what they saw. Um, it looks good. Like as far as graphics, it has this really good look. Like for something, of course, it's built off of Warframe, so all of the rendering, 10 years of rendering, like it's gonna look good. Cloth, physics, textures, lighting. The lighting actually looks better in Warframe. I don't know how, or if I'm just imagining that, but the lighting definitely looks better than what I think Warframe looks like now. I'd be interested to see if the lighting itself has been improved because it looks softer. The outdoor lighting looks better. But as far as everything else, the textures, very high resolution textures, the rocks, like you can see the grass, the trees. The trees look good. The fog, like everything looks really, really good. So the look of it is great. But there was some negative reaction in chat because people were a little hesitant as far as the combat and the way the game played. And that's where I thought this is going to be like a really good discussion of what I find interesting about the demo, right? So, of course, this is Soulframe. It's going to be an open world game, very similar to Warframe in a similar universe. Well, in a sister universe of Warframe. And but the big thing about this is like the combat, right? The biggest feature is how is the combat going to work? And a lot of people are used to how quick Warframe is, and they're going to look at this and go, well, it's too slow, it's too clunky. But I would say that's the thing that distinguishes it and makes it more interesting and better in a way because now they can slow this game down and be a lot more deliberate. It's going to be melee instead of having rocket launchers and laser guns and space lasers, right? Like having melee and limiting it to melee opens up a lot more combat potential other than just nuking enemies from a distance, sniping enemies from a distance, AoE blowing stuff up. So now they can open stuff up and make the gameplay more mechanical, more methodical, and make it more consistent. They could do more with difficulty, they could do more with scaling if you just limit it to the melee pretty much. Now, as far as what this is, now I see the potential. I think when I look at this excites me because I'm like, look, you can strike, you can block, maybe you can parry, you can see the damage numbers. I can see the limitation because if you look at this, you go, well, it doesn't look as good as Devil May Cry. It doesn't look as good as Elden Ring. Like I could name Arkham Knight, Arkham City, like the Arkham games in general. Like I could think of a lot of games that this does not look as good as far as the actual combat. And I would say I'm pretty sure they're looking at games like that, but they definitely got to keep looking at games like that as far as finding what um the things they can improve on to like make the combat snappier, make it more sense, make it more like a rock paper scissors. Like when you think melee game, like you think some really good games, right? So there's a ton of improvements they've got to get to do to get there. Like even the part where they're holding the melee up and just holding it instead of it being like a time melee or something that's more skill based or time based, like those types of things have to be improved, obviously. But I think this is really interesting and cool because if you really think about live service online games, who's offering like a deep melee system? Like you're not really going to get that from too many of the MMOs, right? You're not going to get that from Destiny. It's still a shooting game. Um, if Godfall had stayed as a live service game, maybe you could have gotten that from Godfall. And Godfall kind of was the closest you would get something like this, but Godfall wasn't really a live service game. And Godfall was missing some things. Like, for instance, one big, huge thing that was missing in Godfall was animation canceling, the ability to swing an axe and then go right into a block. If it was a heavy attack or something like that, going from one animation to another, which made Godfall super, super clunky. And that's something that they had to work on in a short period of time because it wasn't really a live service. It was a $60 game. But when I think of the games that are offering what this game could potentially offer, the list is really low. And I think it has the potential to be super unique. Again, this is super rough and early. I can tell that. It's super obvious that this is something that they um they showed up very early, right? But I think because there's no super mechanical game with Melee that feels, I don't think it's going to feel like a Elden Ring or something. But the more they build onto it, the closer you can get to something like that, and something that's a little more casual and something that's a little bit more of an MMO, a live service kind of game. As long as they keep working on it. Like I said, the blocking, the parrying, the meleeing, having more enemy types. Like, I know right now we only see like basically the same humanoid rig over and over, maybe two enemy types. There's like a caster and a melee class in there. And it's super early. Like, these guys, they don't really have much AI, which is understandable. But if they can get more enemy types in there, more weapon types in there, more blocks, parries, more cancels, more feinting, like really be inspired by the Souls games or be inspired by fighter games, I honestly think that this could be the game. Like, it really depends on what DE decides to do with this. If they really want to swing for the fences, or are they just kind of looking to bring a game into like the modern times, something that's been developed fairly recently versus Warframe that's kind of a 10-year-old experiences. And Warframe's experiences are based on, where the world was 10 years ago, as far as like the way it fights and the way it plays out. But if they're looking to make a splash, I definitely think they can do it with this. And I'm hoping for the best. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is that a lot of people were saying, well, this is super early. They shouldn't have showed that. I disagree with that because if you really think about how DE works, DE has pretty much shown that when they started Warframe, they didn't have a publisher. They tried to get publishers, they couldn't. People didn't want a sci-fi game at the time. They wanted an action game. They ended up doing some other things, and DE didn't have a publisher, so D's growth has really been from showing what they want to do to the player base and getting people interested. So I honestly think it's smart. As early as this is, I actually think this is super smart to show this very early, very rough, have it look pretty good, and then have the players go, you know what, that's something that I think will be interested in. They'll tell their friends about it. And then that gives DE a pathway to do more dev streams, or do stuff that will get people interested in this, So showing it early isn't really a bad thing. I think this is a good thing, showing it early. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys my opinion on this because I honestly think that um this could be this could be the game. But in order for it to be there, man, they got to really focus on mechanics. They got to really focus on difficulty, the flow of the game. Maybe even get some people in there off of some other projects, bro. Go hire a person from Elden Ring. Like, you got to do it. Go find somebody in the design department at who helped work on the Souls game and get that person in there, and they got to do in game, and they got to do difficulty, and they got to do all the things that typically you wouldn't have seen in Warframe. And I think if they do all that, it's going to be good. Anyway, I want to talk about this, and maybe we'll make some more videos soon. I don't know, but I just wanted to jump back into making videos, get you guys back onto the channel, turn notifications on. There'll be other content other than just gaming. I want to talk about the Mandalorian and some Star Wars stuff and some other things that I'm pretty excited about. But this looked good. I wanted to talk to you guys about this and just say, man, I think there's definitely a ton of potential in what they're doing here. All right. Anyway, you guys, it's good talking to you guys again. And I don't know, this looks great. I'll see you guys on the next video.